Hey, this is Mathias from Turisas. You're watching Metal Sickness. Of course, yeah, it's great. We've been here quite a few times, but always as the support act, and I don't know. France has always been this sort of a bit of sort of unknown territory for us, because on the other hand, we have a very sort of let's say active fan base, or it seems that they are really sort of active and come to shows and so on. Then again, like, we're still sort of pretty new here. We haven't really played that many shows in France, so. So we'll kind of see how it goes, but I heard the pre-sales are pretty alright, and you know, it's a decent-sized venue, so it's a very cool venue. So it's yeah, we're excited to be here, and hopefully, like, this will then make us able to come back and do more and bigger shows in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, we played what is it called? The venue on. Close by to the Moulin Rouge with the staircase going up. Yeah, we played that quite a few times. And I think there the crowd has always been pretty good, actually. And yeah, I mean, it is kind of hard to know, because it like, for us, like, you get all this press attention in the UK, for instance, like in England. We have all this press and things like that happening. In France, it's not maybe as much of that hassle, but then the shows are really good, so yeah, we're looking forward to it. But then again, the fans are very sort of enthusiastic when you get to play shows, you know. Even today you have people who have been lining up all day, and you know, we did autographs and stuff, so that's really cool. Well, you know, we had the outfit thing was kind of album based, or that's how it ended up being. It wasn't really planned, but it ended up being that we had the same outfits for the whole album cycle, which ended up being quite long, actually, when it was like 3-4 years in between the albums, and we, you know, we're kind of constantly touring. So of course, yeah, there was the practical side of it, that they started to be totally wrecked by the end. But also, like, that you know, the album is a new kind of fresh start, different than what we've done before, and also, like, the costume thing, we wanted to sort of redo our image a bit. We redid our logo a bit, with, you know, a few things, but it's still not like we've done something, jumped completely out of what we've been doing before. It's still kind of in the same line, but it's just a different take on the same. So. I think it started to get a bit sort of boring, just having the same approach on things all the time, and there's so many bands who just run with the same thing all and over again. I mean, when we started out, it was kind of new and exciting, but then it's grown so big, so I think, you know, our part really is to be the innovative motor and come up with new ideas and maybe new fresh approaches, how to approach the same thing, maybe, and that's why, you know, stuff like taking inspiration also from pop culture, like the propaganda posters, or like this kind of pulp, 60s pulp, vintage film, that kind of mood, but approaching the whole, if you may, like, Viking story thing from a sort of vintage pulp angle, makes it kind of have a new twist rather than the same thing that's been repeated over and over again all the time. So that's the thing, you know, trying to, even if you do in the same way as we did on the Varangian Way, we wanted to have a folky song, but we didn't want to have something that sounds like, you know, Celtic three-penny melodies with electric guitars on it, so we picked up a lot of influence from Balkan music, and that, you know, came out as the track In the Court of Yarislev. So trying to kind of, yeah, do maybe the same things, but always find a sort of new approach. I think you write about what feels sort of interesting and fascinating to yourself, and up till now, yeah, there's been the sort of strong basis and link with historical things. Then again, with the new album, I think the emphasis was very much to sort of open it up a bit more, that yes, there is the sort of historical framework to it all, but the songs are not that tied into time and place that even if we in the historical sort of storyline place it somewhere, you could still kind of approach the same song, you know, but kind of take it into the modern world or whatever you see on CNN today when you put it on with Japan and Libya and everything going on, you know, and to make it more timeless in that way. But I think, you know, the historical approach has suited us well, and it's basically from my personal kind of interest into the thing, not that it's not like a statement for the band that it's a concept that we must stick to forever, but
you don't feel obliged to write about it.
No, but I mean now the new album Stand Up and Fight and the previous one, The Randian Way, are kind of connected story-wise when it comes to the historical story, and now that's kind of finished by this album. So now I think, you know, it's time to move on and maybe, you know, see. I don't know what it's going to be in the future yet, but you know, it's that kind of historical story has kind of come to an end. So we'll see what we come up with in the future. Well, it's not like our purpose is to be out there to teach a history lesson, and that it's, if you slip over to that thing, that becomes, you know, that so small details becomes your main, you know, kind of twist in it all, then it gets very boring very soon. So I think, you know, it's something for me personally which is fun and interesting to kind of build it up very kind of small hints and details and pieces, but it can't be the core of the thing, can't be about that, because then, you know, it gets too geeky in many ways. So but of course it's cool that some people really get fascinated about the subject and read up more, and then can maybe, if they dig into it more, they can maybe find more substance to the lyrics as well when they start to find kind of points that match deeper down into the storyline. It's been quite along what we expected. It's been a bit mixed, mainly positive, but of course also when you change something or make something a bit different, there's always going to be people who are, you know, had different kind of expectations and wanted the band to be something else, I guess. And I just think that there's so many bands who kind of, it's always a risk to try to be creative and redefine yourself and find maybe new ways of doing things rather than just sort of repeating what you've done in the past. That's of course a kind of safe way how to not really lose anyone or lose anyone's interest, at least in the short term. But eventually it gets to the point where you release a new album every year and you have 5 albums in 5 years that all sound the same, and I think at that point, like, people, also your fans, start to get bored about it too. So I think it's, you know, people have, and fans have really appreciated the fact that we kind of do what we feel like and like to do, and then it's up to everyone else to really see if they like it or not. But it's been mainly positive, And of course, like, touring in the US with Cradle of Filth, we had a very mixed audience, so we were kind of new to a lot of people, so we didn't really get a full picture how the new songs appeal to the crowd playing them live, because it didn't really have a big difference whether we played a new song or something like battle metal to them, because it was all new to the crowd. But when flying over to London and playing there like a few days ago, we could really tell that the people really also like the new songs, and that was kind of a, you know, nice thing to see that also the new songs had a very good effect in the. Yeah, there was, of course, there was you constantly know that there's management who want the record out, there's a record label who want the record out, but I think they are clever enough not to sort of push you too much, because then it's not very proactive, because then normally what it ends up doing is just adding a lot of pressure and stress, and then you get kind of even less done. So I think everyone kind of understands the situation, that, you know, even if they are eager to have something new, they just have to go by our pace, and it's not very easy to sort of make it work faster. even if they want to push us. So I think there was never the situation that someone was really sort of calling us up like, go do faster, work faster. But of course, you know, you constantly are aware of the fact that if you're running late, behind schedule, like we had to push the release for several reasons with this one as well, and of course you kind of feel bad about that when you know that, well, they were expecting to have it earlier, but now I have to tell them that, sorry, it's gonna take another 2 months until we finish. So but I think, you know, generally everything's been pretty smooth.
Okay, so what is the main reason for such a long time?
Well, I think, well, number one, I think some bands might have more members in the band contributing to the songwriting. It's not like we everyone is free to come up with ideas and put them in, but on the last record I ended up doing most of the songs and the lyrics and everything, and of course that all kind of takes time. If everyone did 2 songs, we could have more material faster. The other thing is, like, you know, we tried doing some songwriting on tour when we were in America 2008, but it didn't really work out. It's very hard to kind of do press shows and then try to find a being creative in 30 minutes doesn't really work. So at least not for me, and I'm really jealous of people who can do it that way. So it was also, you know, matter, we were constantly on the road, so we had to just stop touring and get into that sort of writing mode and start from scratch. So the first 1-2 years on the Varangian Way was just being on the road and not a lot of time for songwriting at all. Yeah, of course you realize that there's all these expectations and I mean, in a way, the worst thing is, like, people will always compare your work to something you've done in the past, and based on what you've done in the past, they will expect it to be this or that, and then if it isn't, then, you know, even if it's good in its own right, it's always like you compare it to different things, and it gets a bit strange that way. And I think we quite early on took the approach that we'll just do what we do and not really get too fussed about what others might want and expect and when and how and, you know, what it should be. And you know, it's I think the response has been very good on the new album, even if there's quite a few of them who also like hate it completely or whatever, but there's always like that kind of approach, and in a way I'm much more happy to have, you know, strong opinions rather than just being sort of, okay, when's the next coming out? That would be the worst, sort of being like 7.5 or a good 8 and kind of, yeah, alright, but, you know, nothing interesting. So, but I don't think it really, even if we all realized it being there, like the pressure from outside, I don't think it really affected the way we work or the songwriting or anything. You know, we take our time and do it still, and even if, you know, people forget about us or whatever, you know, market-wise it would be more clever to release albums more often and all that, but, you know, we still kind of just try to make the best possible music we think at the time. So. I think it's kind of on the same line. If you look at our debut album Battle Metal and the Varangian Way, there's quite a good gap between those albums too. They're not like each other that much, and I think this one is kind of on the same diagonal line, I guess, in the same way, like from the Varangian Way was to Battle Metal, Stand Up and Fight is to Varangian Way perhaps, and it's not like we go out and want to change our style completely or anything, but it's sort of being open to new ideas and bringing in new sort of creative influences, and I think on this album, I think the whole sort of cinematic approach to the songwriting is even taken further than on the Varangian Way, and it has this sort of kind of maybe new influence, like at parts it sounds more like a sort of musical or a stage play at sometimes, and also like things like sort of 80s stadium rock kind of thing comes in every now and then. And I guess those are the elements that were sort of went in our music before and now came in on this album as a result of just sort of writing what you want and trying out new things. But I don't really, it's very hard for me personally to sort of really start comparing them, because you just write the music and you don't really try to make it different, or you don't try to make it the same, so it just ends up being something in the end. We had an off day because we already went out on tour in January, so even before the album was released we were already in Mexico first and there to North America. And because of that we didn't have time to shoot a video in Finland or in Europe or wherever, and it kind of ended up well because we went over, we had an off day in California, and so we shot a video on the, it's I think, you know, it was mostly about the director's sort of point of view. We gave him quite free hands to do whatever and didn't even want to influence it too much, didn't want to come in with like, this needs to be about this historical thing or anything like that. So it's quite different maybe than the approach maybe we could have come up with. But yeah, I don't know what to say about it. It looks pretty cool. I guess it's going to be out in the next weeks or something. It's pretty close to be finished. I mean, if you can imagine a Californian, like just deserts and that kind of stuff, it has, maybe if we've done something that kind of modern in a way on the previous album, people would maybe have been kind of upset or couldn't have understood it. And I think now it's more like, alright, it seems to work well with the song, because it's not really that tightly historical or anything, it's just sort of more universal in all terms. So we are driving a dune buggy on it and, you know, all sorts of things, which isn't like, it's not like the band is about being historically something. So the sort of Helsinki scene is quite small, because it is like, if you play in a band, usually people know each other, and Jack, the main guy in Creamfall, just asked me if I want to, you know, just do some vocal lines. He wanted me to do some vocal lines for one of their songs on the album, and I said sure. That was like last summer or the summer before, no, last summer I think, and when they were recording, and yeah, we were in the studio at the same time, so I actually recorded it at our studio and just sent him the file, and they used it for the album. But yeah, I didn't really have a full understanding of what it's about or the whole album or anything. I just got my little part from him and did that, and that was it. But I later heard that also Olli played some violins on the album for them. Olli also played on the new Moon Sorrow album, so it's like it's kind of small circle, yeah. And yeah, now we were kind of thinking of what support to get for these shows, because it's not like a very long tour, because first we did America and then we do like a very sort of Germany central tour after this, and we only had like these 6 days headlining in between, so Creamfall kind of fit in a good way to be the support on these shows, and they were up for it, so you know, cool it works out. Well, of course it's a bit different, because like for us I would, you know, do my own lyrics, do my own rhythms and stuff, and now I got the music, here's the music, here's the lyrics, and then I think I got a demo sung by their vocalist, and then I think the only thing I asked, can I shorten it up and kind of rephrase things that would be kind of nicer from my point of view, and he said like, sure, do what you want, and I kind of did what I wanted. That was it. It's only a few lines, so it's not like a big deal or anything. I think the album is completely kind of still relies on their internal skill and their own band, and I don't have anything else to do with it, really. I mean, it's a young band. They kind of have a mixture of all kind of a lot of different sounds in what they do, and I think these are actually pretty much their first tour they ever doing. So yeah, it's a good opportunity there, but you know, even if the band is good, I think the best part is by far the female vocalist Helena, because she's like just mind-blowing. I was listening to their sound check in Nottingham the other day in the UK, and it's just like, wow, you know, she's so good in what she does. It's like, you know, you could do anything with it basically. You know, it could be world class or whatever. But still, like, it's the peak thing when you release an album, everyone goes out and buys it at once, and it, you know, jumps in the charts. But I don't think a band like ours couldn't do the same thing as like something like Rihanna, who can like be on the chart like week 1 year or something. That would never be possible for us either in Finland, even in Finland. But no, I mean, I just think that metal is kind of very mainstream in Finland, so it's not like a big subculture. Of course it has that part to it as well, but even at shows you can see a lot of different kind of people, not everyone wearing black and being all like heavy metal alone. It's like you can listen to indie rock and you can listen to metal, both if you like, and you know, it's alright. So it has its good and bad sides, I guess. You know, for people who want metal to be very, very true, it, of course, you know, if you chart it and you are on national TV, it doesn't really work anymore. But I mean, if music is only about rebellion, like teenage rebellion, it doesn't really rely on the music anyway. So then what's the point, you know? So no, but I think it's cool because, you know, as I said, we can do stuff on TV, for instance, in Finland, or be on the charts and stuff. We have a sort of course, we are a metal band, but we also have a sort of mainstream appeal. So that's pretty cool. To be honest, we're not very concerned by what people want to tag us in, because if we start saying we are a pagan metal band, or we are a Viking metal band, or I don't know, even a metal band at times, you know, it's kind of boxing you in, you know. Then you decide that your music is this, and I think the fact that we just, you know, we're just a rock band as far as I'm concerned, and we can do kind of a lot of stuff in between and include a lot of different kind of influences, and that leaves us with much more open minds to be creative in many ways. And that's, I guess, where the term battle metal came from in the first place, is that more as half as a joke, because we didn't really know what to call the music, so he was like, yeah, let's call it battle metal. And then, you know, we ended up naming the first album Battle Metal, and that's where it kind of caught up, and the British media started using that as a name for a genre. But no, for us it's just about writing music that feels interesting at the time, and not really bothering about that, and then leave it up to the press and the fans to decide if they want to tag it Viking or black metal or death metal or just metal or whatever. It's all fine by us. I don't know, I mean, hopefully we can develop. We're coming to Hellfest in the summer. So that's going to be very cool. It's our first festival in France ever.
Is it?
Yeah. We never played Hellfest before. We never played any festival in France before. So it's going to be a new experience for us. And now, as we talked about, it's our first headlining show here in Paris tonight. Hopefully it goes great, and later in the year we can come back for more shows. Also in other parts of the country, because that's what we want to do. So hopefully it works out.
Okay, so thanks for the chat.
Thank you.